Good afternoon and welcome back from lunch. We'd like to get started on the afternoon program and give the last few seconds for people to get seated. My name is James Foster, and Norm Green is here with me, and he will be participating as well in things coming up soon. So we're going to have three parts. First, the background on the company, then an intro to GemStone, and then a roadmap. And I'm going to take the first couple of these. GemStone has been around for 42 years. GemTalk has been around a long time. Founded in 1982 as ServioLogic. Some of you have been through the tech experience of products stay the same, but the company changes. And so we've been watching some of our colleagues go through that as well. The first version of GemStone shipped in '86, name changed. Then the corporate buyout broke at in 2000, which if it had stayed the way it was, could have made everybody rich, but rapidly collapsed in the economic and dot-com problems at the beginning of the century, and bought back by management, then sold to VMware, and then we were part of the first group that was spun off from VMware in 2013. So been privately owned by Dan Ware since 2013 and expected to stay that way. Number of different businesses that are using GemStone: JP Morgan, Intercontinental Exchange, Momentum, Lifeware here in Zurich and several other places. Guava is actually based in Australia. And so a number of these companies, financial systems are, as many of you are aware, a very good place for small talk. Manufacturing, Texas Instruments runs semiconductor manufacturing. The fab plants are run on Smalltalk. Spin-off from that onto works with semiconductor manufacturing again. HTS is a company in Toronto, Canada that has built a customer system and keeps track of a lot of data in a complex application there. H.B. Fuller manufactures glue and other adhesives. Utilities, Florida Power and Light manages their hurricane trouble call system. And we actually do administrative and on-call to support their staff. Telecommunications, Condus was created by Siemens here in Europe and is then being used. Argentina is a hotbed of small talk, as many of you are aware, and uses GemStone and then some of the Condus and some custom applications there for the telecom. SPL is, I believe, in Germany and does telecom work and communications. Government, we've got a number of people in the government industry. Canada Border Security, the Norwegian Immigration, Dutch Agricultural keeps track of the crop yields and does statistics, number of these for quite a while. There are companies then that work with GemStone and GemTalk to produce applications that are then sold to others. So VARs that create things, or working together to build tools or other applications. GemTalk is active in the community, coming to conferences, Faro Consortium membership, ESUG sponsor, and also sponsor the FAST in the conference in Argentina. Here is some of our staff, taken a couple years ago, but we are active, and people enjoy working in Smalltalk and are passionate about what we do. So you're familiar with Smalltalk, but often at ESUG people mention, well, not everyone here is coming all the time. So how many of you have a good feel for what GemStone is? Okay, so many of you, and actually use GemStone. Okay, again, many, maybe not all, but for benefit of students and others that might be new to the environment, GemStone is a Smalltalk that doesn't have some of the traditional limitations of other Smalltalks. In most Smalltalks, your object space is limited to one virtual machine. Your object space is limited to one host. Your object space is limited to RAM, or virtual memory. And the changes in objects that have occurred since the last image save would be lost if the VM crashes. So in GemStone, those limitations are addressed. The object space can be spread across thousands of virtual machines running in parallel. The object space is limited by disk, not RAM. The object space keeps track of changes using the database semantics: ACID, atomic, consistent, isolated, durable, so that once you've committed a transaction, the data is guaranteed to be persistent, and crashing the VM will not lose data. It can be restored. Key features, and we'll look at these again: scalability, billions of objects, thousands of users, thousands of machines, thousands of transactions per second, terabytes of data. So how is this handled? Concurrency, multiple user sessions. We've got built-in semantics for database: commit, abort, continue, so that you can have an isolated view of the object space, even while others are changing it. We have optimistic concurrency, where we keep track of writes that have occurred, and if another transaction has made writes to the same, we'll fail the transaction. But we also have the pessimistic concurrency, where you can explicitly lock objects at a fine-grained level, and then once you acquire a lock, you're guaranteed to be successful on making changes to that object. We support namespaces. Again, one of the early Smalltalks to have namespaces where you can isolate what you see from what someone else sees, even though you're sharing the same database. Security is a factor that is important in a distributed system with multi-machine, multi-users. We have object-level security that follows some of the things you're familiar with from Unix or Linux: user, group, world permissions for read, write, and so on. Login security. In order to connect to the object space, you need to have appropriate security. And this can be done with a user ID and password that is stored in the database, but also we support the corporate environment where you have a single sign-on with Kerberos, LDAP, PAM, X509 certificates. These are the things that a typical corporate environment would have and wants to have supported by the database system. Within that, each user can be given different privileges. So certain things like resetting a user's password is something that you don't want everyone to be able to do, but you can give users permission to do that. Garbage collection, system control, starting and stopping the system. These are things that are managed. But we also say that it's 100% small talk. This is not just a relational database with some library that you can attach to it. This is pure small talk in the virtual machine on the database. It's turtles all the way down, all objects, classes, methods, blocks, exceptions. We support ANSI, and it should be something familiar, just message sends. But enhanced with the capability to support large collections. The millions of objects can be stored, and we have B-tree searches. And this allows you to do searching in milliseconds for huge collections to find the elements that match certain criteria. The B-tree searches support equality indexes, identity indexes, so that you can search strings that are sorted. You can also look for things that are symbols with identity. Interfacing to other small talks. So while GemStone has many features, it does not have a native user interface. And so that would be something that traditionally is provided by other small talks. VisualWorks, Vast Platform, Pharaoh, Dolphin, Jade, Jadeite. So there are a number of tools that are available for that. All of this essentially goes through a C library. So there is a C interface. Java is available for those that are in a corporate environment that insists on that. We have interfaces to relational databases for Oracle, Postgres, Sybase. Platforms, a number of platforms are supported. Linux, both Intel and ARM, Intel AMD. Mac OS, again, Intel, AMD, and then the silicon, Apple Silicon. Solaris, PowerPC, Raspberry Pi, and Windows for the client. The Gem Builder for Smalltalk is a library we provide that you can load into a client Smalltalk, and both Syncom and then I think the Vast platform. Jade is an IDE that is available open source and provides the tools that you might be used to seeing, the 5-pane browser with various other debuggers, inspectors. Jadeite is a fork of that is providing more in the way of new source code control capabilities. Licensing model, how can you use it? Community Edition is free, where you can download it and start using it without any specific permissions from us. You don't even have to tell us that you've downloaded it. You can run it in a commercial environment for that. You can get a perpetual license. You can get a subscription license. You can, if you build a project that you're selling to others, you can get a VAR license or software as a service. And we provide kind of a tiered level. These prices haven't changed for a decade or so. We're wanting to get people started using it. Support, web support, emergency support, mailing lists, and other things. We're happy to work with people that want to get started on it. So we'll turn things over to Norm. I'm going to take the microphone off and pass it through. Although I might not. Maybe I'll let you do it.
Yes. Yes, and we can go here. Okay. Okay, now put also somehow under.
You may just go over the top.
I mean,
Wherever you want
I
it.
can also do it like this.
Wherever you want.
Yes, thank you.
It's okay. Thank you, James, for taking the first part. I picked up a little virus in Switzerland, and it's compromised my voice a little bit, so try to get through. So the last part is the roadmap on what we're doing with the product. We're currently on our 3.7 release cycle. 3.7.1 came out in March, and we also are still supporting 3.6. 3.6.8 came out in January. These are our two major product lines, our current version and one prior. So I'll just go through some things we did in 3.7 and what we're looking at for the future. In 3.7, our focus was greatly performance. We had Andreas working for us in the summertime and did a lot of performance tuning on a lot of areas of the product. And we tried to make almost everything faster. Garbage collection, backup restore, the VM itself. Andreas spent a lot of time on that. So we focused on performance. We added something called Prometheus support, which is a common open source monitoring environment for production systems. And it gives you like nice graphs like this, so you can see when things start and stop, series time data. So we have support for that now for monitoring production systems. Andreas spent a lot of time on the VM, mostly the Intel VM, x86-64. Average improvement of 35%, kind of depends what you're doing. But he was down in the assembler, and I've never seen someone that knows so much about assembler in his brain as Andreas. So did a lot of good work for us. We're doing more cloud support of things like CMKs or customer master keys for various clients. So that's where you can lock or unlock an object in GemStone with a key that exists in the cloud. And the customer can decide, I want you to see my data today, but if they don't tomorrow, they click a button and they turn it off so you can't decrypt it anymore. And most of the major cloud vendors have this. We support it in Azure and AWS. Faster instance migration. One of the issues can be in GemStone is if you have terabytes of data and you need to do an instance migration on some classes to go through all those instances, millions potentially. It can take quite a long time, so we've added some multi-threaded parallel support to do this in a faster way. We finally upgraded OpenSSL to version 3, which was not as easy as it should have been, but it's got there eventually. Also added support for SSH and SFTP. There's new classes in the product to access SSH sockets and transfer files back and forth with SFTP tunnels. We added a bunch of things for reading strings. Read byte stream is optimized to handle string and byte objects. We find that when you're processing data with a stream, you get into a lot of message sends, so optimization is very important in that type of use case. and auto promotion to Unicode 16, where a code point is greater than 255, something that we did. Some newer cryptographic hash methods to kind of play nice with the way Pharo does things. If you say SHA-256 sum, we used to answer a string of hex digits, which we still do, but Pharo answers a byte array, so we added SHA-256 sum bytes. That gives you the actual bytes of the hash. We added support for file system, taken from Pharo, into the product in 3.7, with all the major classes like file reference, system, locator, and descriptor. We added some more features to secure socket, which is our Smalltalk object for doing TLS. So you can now have pre-shared keys to establish a secure connection or use anonymous TLS. We added this thing called customer-defined immediate objects. So we had some extra bits in the object ID that we weren't using, and we had customers that wanted to do various things with it. The case in point would be like a currency object, where you want to be able to represent an object as a currency, a few bits, say 4 bits, and then the rest of it is, say, a scale decimal or something. So you could have euros, US dollars, Canadian dollars, yen, whatever have you. We added an example how to do this so customers could write their own if they want additional immediate objects that are not provided out of the box by GemStone. We added one-time passwords, so we have some corporate banking customers that need this. They need to log in as a user to do something administrative, but just one time, and just for maybe 2 minutes. They call that a break glass operation, because it requires administrative privileges to do that. But they don't want to go and change the password or give somebody your password or do those things. So they said, well, can we just do a one-time login and do something and then log out? Can you make that happen? So we added this. You can create a one-time password for a user, say how long it's valid. It lets you log in one time only, and then it doesn't work anymore. The Rowan package manager is still in progress, designed to manage packages for any Smalltalk. It's Dale's project. It's still not finished. He's still working on it. I don't know when it'll be finished. Hope someday. He's made some progress. He's on version 3 now, but he's not letting it out of his laptop just yet. But we hope soon. I hope soon. Native code support on ARM64 is now here. Previously, it was in interpreted mode only on ARM, but native code is now here on ARM on Linux only, not on the Mac. Doing low-level things on the Mac is another problem, but on Linux it's fairly easy. So we have some customers that are looking to do this because it turns out leasing space in cloud servers is much cheaper if it's ARM than Intel. Who knew? But they're looking to do some more things on ARM. More improvements on the x86-64 VM. Andreas is still working at that. We have customers using our DARE, data at rest encryption, which means everything on disk is encrypted at all times. And to support key rotation, you can now have up to 24 private public key pairs in the system. Previously, it was like, for some things it was 1, and some things it was 4. So they have customers who want to change the key every month. So DB transient for instance variables. So DB transient is a field in GemStone which is memory only. When you commit it to disk, it changes into nil, and when you read it back, it's nil. And previously, this was a class by class attribute, and some customers wanted to be able to do this at an instvar level. So we've now added that. So it basically means do not persist this instvar. It's going to go away. Martin has written some new collection classes optimized for GemStone, tree dictionary and tree set. And these are in 3.7.1, and the tree dictionary avoids the hash table rebuild if there's too many collisions, which has been an occasional problem for customers when dictionaries get very large. And this is optimized for GemStone's internal tree structure of how we deal with large objects. So this is out there. You can give it a try. This is like a fork and exit function for, we have something called GSTS or external session, which allows you to start another GemStone session where the main session controls it. And that was all fine, except if you forked off something and then logged out, the child session would die. So somebody said, well, what if I wanted to continue and for the parent process to just go away? I want to be able to do that. So this lets you do that. You can kick off something like a daemon, and then the process that spawned it can exit, and the child keeps running. Okay, what are we thinking about going down the road? We've got some more requests for some functionality in secure sockets. So you have this object in GemStone called the X509 certificate, which is basically a Smalltalk representation of an X509 certificate. Want to be able to look at, is it valid? Is it self-signed? Does it match the peer name that it claims to be? Something, because you can tell SSL to do that when you connect. If the name doesn't match, SSL will drop the connection if you tell it to. So we added some support for that. We are going to be adding support for OAuth2 logins. So some companies generate a JWT when they authenticate a user, and then you take that token and you can do anything with it. So they want to be able to log into GemStone with it. So we're going to be looking at adding that. Traits are coming soon to GemStone. It's being worked on right now. It's based on the Pharo 12 traits, and the API will differ a bit from Pharo, but we did start with the Pharo spec on traits and work from there. And this is the list Dale gave me of what is supported and what is not supported in the first version. So we're going to support abstract methods, stateful traits, trait initialization, tunnel file format, and trait class variables, which he said is not even in Pharo yet. What we're not going to support, at least initially, is the customized method received from a trait, stateful traits for customized inspars, and trait composition. Maybe later. We've talked to our customers that want traits, and everyone has said yes for an initial release. This is good. This will help. So this is what we're working on for 3.7.2. Rowan support I already talked about. It's coming. Martin is still working on his Sparkle project, which is a lightweight client for Pharo to talk to GemStone. It is somewhat working, but it needs additional things like encrypted socket support and more features to it. So it's out there on GitHub. It does work, but it needs more care and love to bring it to fruition. And Martin gave a talk a couple of years ago with a demo at the UK Smalltalk users group. It's still out there on the internet. If you're interested in that, you can watch what he did. He spent about an hour and a half talking about it, demoing. We are going to look at, once it's complete, the Quick Network Protocol, which is supposed to be the successor to TCP. It's a UDP-based protocol for mostly HTTP traffic, but we have customers that have problems with TCP with a lot of ACKs and NACKs going back and forth, and there may be some things at Quick that can help with that. OpenSSL currently only supports Quick on the client. Their server implementation is not finished yet. So once the server and the client are there, we're going to have a look at this. Jadeite for Pharo is in progress as well, which is the Jade, basically the Jade product that we had, or Jadeite that we did for a couple of customers, and they're porting it to Pharo for general use. Also not ready, but it's up at GitHub and does work somewhat. Some relatively new open source projects we've done is GemConnect for Postgres, so you can talk to objects and in Postgres and run queries in Postgres and bring GemStone object in. We have a customer in Germany using that right now, as well as GemConnect for RabbitMQ, which just provides an API for calling out to RabbitMQ and posting things and creating queues and what have you. And that's my last slide. Is there any questions for me or James? Yeah. The microphone.
So what is GemStone for Postgres? Does it store everything in Postgres instead of its own database, or how does it? What is it for?
No. No, it's a interface layer to the Postgres RDB, so you can compile queries and run them in Postgres and get strings and integers back, and similar to what we have for Oracle and Sybase.
This is for the corporate environments where you have to dump data to a reporting engine.
Yes, exactly.
To reporting.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Do you have any plans to?
I want you to wait for the mic.
To offer a hosted service that would certainly promote the product?
Do you have any plans to offer a hosted service that would certainly promote the product?
It's been talked about. We don't have any firm plans right now, but it's been discussed a number of times. If we do that, we want to make it compelling for someone to get started with and not kind of get lost in configuration. And so we want to have a good tutorial story to go with it. And we haven't had time to build that, but it's a great idea. I think we had something rolled up a few years ago that James created on DigitalOcean. But it wasn't very new user friendly. You kind of had to know how GemStone works to get started with it. It wasn't really for a beginner. And we wanted something that was beginner friendly. So yes, hopefully someday soon. Okay, thank you.